Okay, let's get started. I'm sorry, we've actually, ironically, had technological difficulties on the Technology for Seniors seminar.
You should have shown us how to fix it.
Well, right, that would have been a tutorial. We could have used it that way, yeah. Experts in the house. So good morning, welcome everybody. I am Karena Stipp, and I'm as many of you know, senior specialist realtor. And I host these seminars with a lot of different expert speakers. So today we're going to talk about technology for seniors. And we're going to start out, we have, the third one is not here, so I'm a little concerned about her. I sent her a message. She does have some health problems, so if she doesn't come, she's at the end. I've got her slides, and it was a pretty quick presentation, so I'll pinch it for her if something's happened with Sue. So we're going to start out with Philip.
Hello.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell a little bit about yourself.
I'm Philip. I'm Phil Carter. I'm currently director of the Roseville Chamber, an up-and-coming town just a little bit east of here. People would rather go.
Come up this way.
Oh.
Camera's up there.
Oh, camera.
Yeah.
But no, my experience was working for the technology world, Cisco Systems, IBM, for most of my professional career. Then ran a small business here in Wake Forest for about 4 years, nerds together. You may have used them for support. Sold that last year, and in my first retirement job was in the chamber, having fun again. So I'm one of those nerdy people that got into technology, playing games. Well, video games. I still play video games. My sons laugh at me because, as we get older, our synapses slow down and they can kick my butt all over the place, but I still play. It's just...
So I'm going to have you all come over this way. Bob's giving me the high sign. And I'm going to stand over here to flip the screen just in case we do have another technological difficulty. And so we're going to move on to Katrina, so I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Katrina Dorsey. I'm one of the doctors of audiology at Wake Audiology. So I specifically focus on treating hearing loss with a variety of methods, usually hearing aids, sometimes cochlear implants, but we definitely do a lot there, and I'm excited to tell you more about it.
Okay, great, thanks. And I'll go ahead and go to Sue's slide. She's with clear captions, and that'll be at the end. We'll talk a little bit about that. 40 years of experience in the senior living and healthcare administration industry, and now she works with clear captions. So hopefully she comes along. Maybe she lives south part of town, so it could be she's run into some traffic or something. So we're going to start off with Philip, and he's going to talk about first some tips for smartphones, then for computers, and then for services that can help you if you feel completely back over here. Oh, you're going to get something here. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So let's see. Yep. All right. Already learning from your teenagers right there. That's fine. My job as a presenter is to penetrate that shield of invisibility that you have with your smartphone. You get a lot of experience being out in the nerd world when you're doing presentations, because everybody in a technology presentation under the age of 90 has a smartphone in their lap looking at it while they're trying to listen to you multitasking doesn't always work. But hey, smartphones, leading off, one thing I've got for you, I have a 91-year-old mother, so I'm learning to figure out what services she needs. She's at the stage where she's been driving until about 6 months ago, but she's had some health issues that have taken her off the road. And now, about 4 years ago, I got her an iPhone. And that was challenging. She went from, I said, do you want to communicate with your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren? You got to get a smartphone, because your ability to respond on an old standard phone where each key has 6 different letters behind it, not working so much. Of course, smartphones are tough when you start losing dexterity in your hands and your vision. There's a lot of different things you can push on the screen of that. You can suddenly blow the screen up and you don't know how to reduce it anymore. But in general tips, I recommend smartphones for your parents, because number one, that helps them communicate with the world. But again, opening up communication with the world does bring risk. We use banking apps, we have insurance apps, we have traveling apps, we have healthcare apps on the phones right now. I would just say use your smartphone like a computer. It is a computer. but also recognize that since it is a computer, it has security issues that you need to be aware of. And that means your phone, rather unlike your home computer, which is probably connected to a wire or to the Spectrum box or the Ting box or whatever, the phone's wireless. And if it's on Wi-Fi, a lot of people could be trying to grab your data over Wi-Fi if it's not secure. And it's things as simple as you go to your local coffee shop and you jump on the Wi-Fi while you're there waiting in line or you're drinking coffee, having a conversation with your friend. What you don't know is your phone just connected to a guy in the parking lot, 25-year-old, who's a little broke, so he's looking for some money. And he's been sniffing, he's set up what they call a honeypot, which means I'm a black and white coffee roaster downtown. Well, this guy set up in the parking lot, and he's set up a Wi-Fi hotspot that is identified as black and white guests. There's no law that says he can't identify himself as whatever he wants to over the Wi-Fi. But you know, your phone doesn't know that. It just goes to the strongest signal. So what I would recommend is if you have those apps on your phone and you're doing banking, you're doing insurance, you're doing healthcare, you're doing anything that has anything to do with your personal data, don't access those applications anywhere outside of your house or a trusted residence, your children's house, your friend's house. I wouldn't do it on public Wi-Fi, a theater or a coffee shop or a grocery store, because you just don't know who you're communicating through. And that's how a lot of bad actors have stolen a lot of very sensitive data just by setting, and yeah, you're still getting to the internet, but they're recording everything that travels through because they become a man in the middle. It leaves your phone, it goes to their device, and then it goes to the Wake Med. It was my chart for Wake Med, right? So be very careful with the smartphone. One thing that I just stumbled across that is going to help my mother out a lot. She's living independent. She's not driving anymore, or she's in congestive heart failure. So her vision is having challenges. Her hearing is having more challenges. Her ability to be independent is falling down right now. There's a really neat app that just came out. It's called Go Grandparent. Pencil that one down. Go Grandparent. This would be good for your parents or even for you. Do you like dealing with apps like Uber? Anybody ever taken an Uber? I've been on the road my whole life, so I'll learn how to do that. My mom, I gave her the app. She can't drive. Mom, just grab an Uber. I can't take you to the doctor on Mondays because that's a really busy day. So just grab an Uber. She's literally, I was just trying to set her up so she could see my chart on Rex Sunday. It took better part of an hour and a half, and I guarantee you she still can't log into Rex's my chart on the phone with any guarantee. It's just her senses are devolved to the point where it's just too difficult for her. But she can still hit a phone number. I mean, that's ingrained for her entire life, dialing a phone number. Right? Maybe not doing it the old way, right? But she can still bring up the phone app and with some reliability hit a phone number and talk to people on the phone. Go Grandparent is a phone service. I remember her car about 10 years ago when she wanted to get somewhere. This is before the maps really got on every smartphone. She hit a button on the mirror and it would dial out to Chevrolet or whoever the service was. Hi, where would you like to go? Hi, would you like to order some food? Hi, you had a human at the touch of a button. That's what Go Grandparent is. So number one, if you're your relative or you need to order an Uber or a Lyft, they'll do it for you. You just dial the number. Where do you want to go? And then they'll also say, okay, we just put that's your home address. We put that as one. Once you hit the 800 number and answer just hit one, and that calls an Uber to your home. So we set up some automation in the app as well. Something that's very simple for them to use. So Go Grandparent. It's a service.
Go twice.
Go Grandparent.
Is it an actual app?
It is an actual app.
I searched it and it didn't come up.
I just decided to go search Google for it, and I found the website It's gowithgrandparent.com. Rides, groceries, meals, and more built better for older adults and people with disabilities. Screen and monitor services from Uber, DoorDash, Instacart, and more with or without a smartphone. I can't see.
There's different packages. I looked at it after you told me about it. So there's a basic package, and then there's like a premium package that has more, like the healthcare app.
Yes.
So you could get more support, and they're trusted. So if you're talking to the person, you're going to talk to someone you can trust with that information.
Exactly.
So obviously, it's sensitive information that you're sharing if you've got a credit card involved or whatever the situation is. Yeah.
So I'm getting her set up for that, and that will give me some sense of relief that she's talking to a reliable service or trustworthy service, and not calling the wrong people anyway. That's one thing.
Is there a fee?
Yes.
Is there a fee for
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The basic package was 20 something. I think the premium was like 80 something on it. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a fee for service. For me, my mother's no longer capable of this, and I'm not retired yet. I just don't have the capability of taking a half a day to take her to a cardiologist every week. So she does live in a place where they have services, transportation services, but sometimes, she's not available. So this gives me a little bit more assurance that I can get her taken care of, and she can take care of herself. Again, getting a smart car with better driver assist features keeps her on the road, or did keep her on the road for a long time. These are assistance features that help her remain, and that's probably the biggest challenge she's had, is coming to terms with the lack of independence. She's been the force of nature in our family for 50, 60 years. So it's been a challenge for her emotionally to realize she's losing that sense of independence, or that ability to be on her own. So this is another thing I can do to keep her in control of her own life. That's probably, I should have led with that. Tips for computers for yourselves. This gets back into my zone, your zone, our zone. What do we want in computers? Well, we want something transportable. Is it going to ever leave the desk at my home office? Probably once or twice a year as I go to Thanksgiving and I want to show some kids some videos. But still, get a laptop. Desktop computers are for gamers, and that's not a hard, fast rule. But laptops will give you flexibility that a desktop computer doesn't. I would also say get a laptop with the biggest screen you can afford, because the bigger the screen, the bigger the letters, the bigger the numbers, the easier it is. Most important, and my mom is yelling at me because I forgot to order this for her, a touch screen. You go, I don't need a touch screen. I don't want touch screens. Wait till you try a touch screen. You'll never go back.
It's hard now if I borrow somebody else's computer. And mine's a touch screen.
Why not an iPad instead of a computer?
So I have an iPad, and I have a desktop, and I have a laptop. We have multiple devices. And absolutely, I'm sitting on the couch watching Netflix, and I'm seeing what my political candidate has said in the last 30 minutes that has got the whole world aflame. So I'm doing that. My wife's over here on the couch on her iPad going, "Are you paying attention? Because I'm not rewinding Game of Thrones again." Yes, honey, I'm paying attention. So the point being, touchscreen works great, whether it's an iPad. A laptop, Apple doesn't make a touchscreen laptop. They make the iPad, and they make the MacBooks. The MacBooks are not touchscreen. We've talked about it. They're months, if not years away from the touchscreen on the Mac. Anybody using Mac? A Mac laptop? So you got your iPad too? Exactly. And your iPhone. And that's another tip between these two things. I will promote Apple. Why? Because what happens on the Mac happens on the iPad, happens on the phone.
But if you send a video to a person who doesn't have an app,
There are some challenges. There are some compatibility issues with the Bill Gates world, the Microsoft world. There are workarounds, but again, how much nerdiness do you want in your life? For yourself, in your own self-contained bubble, I would say there's nothing better than the Apple experience for seniors, because number one, like I said, if I switch devices, they're very good at just replicating. Again, I lose my iPhone, it's pretty much automatically backed up. I buy a new iPhone, and it goes through very, so simple, a great-grandparent could do it to replicate the lost iPhone down to the new one, or your MacBook, or your Mac Air does the same thing. So the Apple experience is all encompassing. What are the problems with it? Compatibility with the Bill Gates Microsoft world. Not critical, they got better, but they still hate each other.
Yes.
They're still competing, and they don't make it easy. So that's one thing. Another challenge is they're more expensive devices. You can buy very inexpensive Android phones, very inexpensive PC laptops, but again, you get what you pay for. Mac, Apple, you're getting an ecosystem. One of the best things in terms of security is that because Mac or Apple has locked down their environment, their app store, you don't, as an application vendor, you don't get on that app store until you pass their test. You have to follow extremely stringent rules as a vendor on the Apple App Store. That is constraining. There's a lot of technologists that go, I'm not going to be following your rules. I'll go over to the Android marketplace and make more money. Fine, go do your thing. So as a senior, I would say, because of that self-contained ecosystem where they're doing a lot more inspection of the software before it goes on the App Store, they're quicker about excising the bad guys they do let in. So I think Apple is overall a better solution than PC and Microsoft for seniors. It's really on your own experience. If you've been working with Microsoft and Microsoft Office and now Microsoft 365 your entire life, then go with what you're comfortable with. But you know that there's some considerations. You don't want to click on everything in an email. Yes, ma'am.
Two things about Apple, and I wish I had stopped. Anyway, their support system is wonderful. Over however many years I've been using them, I've probably had 5 people I can't understand. They answer immediately. So I think I can't say enough good things about them. And secondly, their classes are wonderful. They limit the number of people, they're very understandable, they're patient. That's my thought.
Yeah, any other comments on that? I think that's kind of, smartphones, be careful what you're doing on it. Computers, pick your ecosystem. Yes?
I have a question. I see the recent update, how you have the updates on that. And I wasn't able to send a text to, multiple texts to 2 Android people.
Yes, that is another one of those incompatibilities that you sometimes run into.
Isn't that weird though? I mean, you should.
What's the Apple text? What do they think? iMessage, I think, right? So that goes through Wi-Fi, and it's proprietary to Apple. And if you can't send it through iMessage, you're supposed to send it back through Spectrum or AT&T, whoever your provider is. Sometimes if you don't have the settings right, it won't retry it through the cellular network.
Maybe it's a setting issue.
It's 99 out of 100 times, it's just a setting issue. There is no incompatibility with the messaging, the text messaging you're doing on the messaging app on an iPhone with the rest of the world. It's sometimes just, especially if you're out of cellular service, you might be able to send me a message because I'm on an iPhone because you're over Wi-Fi inside of here, but I've got no cellular service in here.
Right.
So I'm not texting my sons or anybody else that's not on an iPhone. So that's consideration.
Isn't a smartphone one of the most hackable pieces of equipment online? You know what I mean? It's so easy to hack. It's easier to hack a cell phone than it is a computer.
Go back to why I was on an iPhone as opposed to an Android. I'll give you an analogy that agrees with what you're saying. I was with IBM. IBM's a monster in the IT world. I mean, they've got 10,000 people on their IT security team, right? Just for internal. They would not let me, if I wanted them to pay for my cell phone service as an employee, I had to have an iPhone. Why? How many iPhone models over the years have there been? Call it 100. Call it 100, right? 100 models since the dawn of the iPhone, right? How many Android devices? How many manufacturers make Android? Thousands. So the IBM IT team needed to make sure their employees were secure. So they limited anything that was carried that was paid for by IBM that allowed IBM apps to run on it. It had to be an iPhone because they could control that. With partnership with Apple, it was a more controllable ecosystem. It was a more supportable ecosystem. So I agree with you. The Android ecosystem is much more hackable than the Apple world. But you pay more for the Apple world. You get less flexibility in the Apple world. You may not be able to communicate or download every app you want in the Apple world. But as I get further on, and I get to be more like my mom and less like I was when I was 30, in other words, declining in my ability to deal with. You know, you got 15-year-old kids, script kiddies they call them, that are coming up with something new every single night to go try to hack you with. I'm not studying 8 hours a day in college trying to figure out what the latest, greatest thing is anymore. So they can get ahead of me. I would rather be in a more secure environment. So I agree with you. Android has its benefits, but as I get older, Apple is getting stronger and stronger in my mind is where I want to be. Does that answer? Agree with you?
What about VPN?
So VPN, virtual private network. I don't know what's on.
Right. Yeah.
So if you have a desktop computer or a laptop computer, especially a laptop, you take the laptop out of your house, you're going to go get on somebody's Wi-Fi, you want an application, a VPN application, and write this down, Surfshark is what I use, Surfshark. VPN, what it does, remember I told you about the phone that goes through the honeypot in the parking lot and is sniffing all your data? What virtual private network software does, it encrypts it from your laptop to your provider. So if you're on, let's say you're on your Apple MacBook Pro, you're at Black and White Coffee downtown, and you want to go to your MyChart for WakeMed. So what it's going to do, your first connection out of that coffee shop is over the coffee shop's Wi-Fi. The VPN, virtual private network, encrypts the data, creates an encrypted tunnel. So everything that you type goes through this tunnel that is just gobbledygook. So anybody in the parking lot, all they see is a stream of gobbledygook digits. They cannot, it's encrypted, 256 key encryption. Some of the most secure stuff out there. Surfshark is the app that I use, there's dozens. VPN software is something very important to use. It creates an encrypted tunnel so that you're not getting hacked in the parking lot of Black Coffee Roasters or anywhere else.
So if you have it, is it an automatic thing when you go into a coffee shop, or you have to access it?
You download the app, you set it up so that anytime
Link it up.
you can set it up so the second you put up your computer, the app comes up and anything you do gets encrypted or it can be manual.
Do you pay for it separately, or is it in with your software that's antivirus?
Antivirus software packages like
Bitdefender
do come with for an extra price with VPN capability. Surfshark has a free trial. Again, these things provide service, so they charge for that service. I pay maybe $4 a month, I think, for Surfshark. Of course, if you buy a year subscription, it's a 10% discount or something like that. So VPN, very important software for a laptop. Do they have it for the iPhone, for the phone? Yes, do I have it on here? I typically just pay attention to what I'm connecting to, because that's another 15 steps or 10 steps I need to get through before I can get to WakeMed. So I just make sure that I know to go to a coffee shop. I turn off my Wi-Fi before I go to WakeMed. So that way, it's going from this, it's not going through the coffee shop's network, it's going straight from here to AT&T. I kind of got to trust AT&T, even though it's run by these things called humans. So you got to trust somebody a little bit. But also, you put other things in place. You check your credit card bill, so somebody didn't charge stuff through WakeMed. You check your credit report every day or every week to make sure or get a credit report sent to you on a weekly basis, or if any alerts, definitely set this up. These things are not 100% secure. So what do? You have a layer of systems in place to make you secure. One of them is go to the 3 credit agencies or pay for credit service that sends you an alert the second anything changes on your credit. Right? So you get hacked in the parking lot, the first thing they're going to try to do is get your social security number, your bank accounts, your credit card numbers, whatever they can do to get money from you. So be checking your bank statements, be checking your credit cards, be checking your credit report. Those are layers. What you want to do, and you've heard me say this before, take every security precaution you can, even if it slows you down. VPN will slow you down, but it creates a huge layer of security. Your job, in terms of security for devices like this, is to make yourself unattractive to the bad people. You want to be the least attractive person at the coffee shop. Because if you've got antivirus running, if you've got VPN running, if you know you're connected to AT&T and not to some honeypot in the parking lot, these are all layers. The more layers you have, the more secure you'll be, the more unattractive you'll be. They'll go to somebody else who doesn't have all those layers. Think about physical security. It's the same thing. What did your ladies in the room, what did your parents teach you about physical security when you were a young teenager going out in the world? What's one thing your parents taught you about security?
You wear your sandals.
Keep your head on the swivel. Another thing. On the swivel. A million things.
Strangers, you know.
Stranger danger.
Yeah.
So, park under a light. Keep your head on a swivel. Be aware of the stranger, pack heat.
Don't be looking at your phone.
Yes.
Yeah, don't be distracted.
These are all different steps that layer up to make you unattractive to a physical attack. They'll go find someone that's not doing all these things, that's not paying attention, that's parked in the dark, right? So security in the technology world is the same thing. You want to create as many layers as possible.
What about Gmail?
Hang on just a tick, she was.
I have a question about the VPN. I have Aetna insurance, and I used to go on to them to see what's going on. I put in my password, right? It would open. It won't open anymore, so I contacted them. They sent me an email and told me to disconnect my VPN. I didn't do it. So now I just call them and they talk to me over the phone. But why would they tell me to disconnect my VPN? If
It could be blocking things. VPNs, one thing VPN software does is it locks a lot of services out. So that it shoves everything through that tunnel.
But
The tunnel's broken.
isn't that like dangerous for me to do that?
To do what?
To disconnect the VPN?
In certain situations, yes, I would just go with whoever you trust for technical support and take their recommendation. If they're telling you to disconnect that, it's because they're trying to fix something else. But don't let it go. Say, do I need to now turn my VPN back on, and how do I do that?
Okay, so you think it's a temporary thing, that they want me to disconnect it and then...
They're trying to figure out what the problem is. And a lot of times VPNs can create problems of their own and make it harder for them to find the problem.
Okay.
Again, it's encrypting all the data so nobody can look at it. So they might want to turn it off so they can see something to help you with. But know who you're talking to.
So let's do one more to answer
Yes.
this question.
Gmail.
And we'll have questions.
This happened when I was working. I had to go on short-term disability. So I was at home and my manager emailed me a form on my Gmail, private Gmail. Next thing I know, I'm being bombarded by attorneys for, whether I wanted to sue my employer and things like that. So how did that, where was the breach in privacy?
The breach in privacy was not with Gmail. The breach in privacy is what happens when you file for disability. The government is going to make that data public. So it's like when you get a speeding ticket. You get 60 letters from lawyers when you get a speeding ticket within a week. Because it's
I
public.
just had a form emailed to me from my manager. How did the attorneys get any kind of information about me?
Somebody, and I'm just supposing here, filing for disability is publicly posted. I mean, you're filing, disability insurance is a government-funded program. At some point, your information was made public, that you filed for disability. So they're assuming, they see that posted somewhere, and people sell this data. They literally make money selling a list of people who just went on disability. Because these attorneys want to go find out if you did have an accident, that you can go sue somebody for.
It may be linked to the actual disbursement of the file itself, of the form itself. That's, I think, what I'm hearing.
Could be, that's,
Yeah. It literally could be the keystroke that she puts that in, that it went out to you, and immediately it gets sold.
So, for example, let's say that form is listed in some government website that's hard to get to, but there's a lot of other companies that have posted that form. So your manager may have just Googled the form and went to the first site that he saw it on, or she saw it on, and downloaded it. That site itself might have recorded the data and sold it. This is all the risk we're in this world.
It's just the form that was sent as an attachment, and I was surprised I got 3 calls the same day asking me whether I'd like to sue my.
It's kind of like when you go on Amazon, you search for something that you never buy, but yet you're going to get bombarded by ads for it.
Yeah.
So many years ago, they had mailing lists. They used to sell 10,000 mailing lists
They still do.
to a company. It's the same thing, only it's with, computer
Email.
and phone.
Another thing I mentioned, just in browsers, you use Chrome, you use
Firefox.
Firefox. Try DuckDuckGo.
Oh, it's just something.
DuckDuckGo. Again, it's highly secure blocked because it locks everybody out. There's a lot of things I like about Chrome that makes it easier for me to operate the world. But yeah, I'm going to see ads for everything I shop for on eBay or Amazon. DuckDuckGo cuts all that fat out. It'll take you right where you want to go. Some websites won't even answer DuckDuckGo because they're in the business to sell.
Do you pay for that?
DuckDuckGo is free.
Oh, is it? Okay. Okay, so we'll come back to you. If you have any questions for Philip, if you would hold those till the end, we're gonna have Katrina come up, and if you'd stand over here just so you can be in view of the camera because we're recording.
Yeah, of course.
We're gonna switch over to Dr. Katrina, and she's gonna tell you all about technology in relation to hearing.
Yeah, so like I said before, I am an audiologist, so I work with people who think they have hearing loss or definitely do have hearing loss. So before we even hop into hearing aids, the best thing to know is, do you need one? So the best way to figure that out is to go and get tested at an audiologist's office. Once you've gone and you've done that and they've given you those recommendations, that's when we start to look at treating the hearing loss. So when it comes to hearing aids, the goal is to help you better hear conversations, whether that's talking to your kids, your grandkids, your neighbors, people on the phone. The hearing aids are supposed to help you with that. How do they do that? So there is a large range of different devices that can help with hearing aids.
Or switch to the next one, is this slide?
We can see on the other one.
Okay, tell me when you want to switch.
Yeah, I'll be sure to.
Okay.
So when it comes to treating hearing loss, there's a lot of things out there, not just hearing aids. I know recently over-the-counter hearing aids got the FDA approval, and there's dozens and dozens out there. I mean, I feel like there's a new one popping up every day. It's hard to keep up with that. So there's the over-the-counter hearing aids, prescription hearing aids, assistive devices, all the way up to cochlear implants. Where your hearing loss is going to help better determine which option is going to be best for you. A lot of my seniors don't do that well with over-the-counter hearing aids. Over-the-counter devices are going to be good for people who have a very flat, very mild hearing loss that need to hear, all of the different sounds just a little bit better. With that, I recommend those for my really young, very technologically savvy people, because when it comes to over-the-counter hearing aids, if there's a problem, I can't help you. I don't have access to make changes or really even know exactly what the problem could be. When it comes to prescription hearing aids, those are a lot easier to personalize. Those are what are personalizable to what you need them to do. When it comes to hearing aids, they're not going to make everything louder the way that an over-the-counter hearing aid or an over-the-counter amplifier is going to do. When it comes to a prescription hearing aid, we have to put your hearing test results into the device, and the device says, okay, so we know that really low, deep pitches. They're not an issue. You're not having an issue with men's voices, so we know we don't really have to focus on that. But you are having trouble hearing a lot of the higher pitched tones. So that might mean you're having trouble hearing your wives, your sisters, your kids, your grandkids. The hearing aids know, let's not make those really low sounds louder, because you don't need that. What you need is the higher sounds to be louder. So let's make those a little bit louder here. The other thing that hearing aids can do is they can cut down on a lot of distracting background noise. I think the biggest thing I hear from everybody is that they have trouble hearing people in noisy restaurants or in those groups of people where there's a lot of other things going on, like clattering dishes, maybe your friend's dogs are barking in the backyard, things like that. So when it comes to prescription hearing aids, those are going to be easier to focus on the conversations that you want to hear and filter back some of that background noise, okay? There are other devices that can help when even hearing aids aren't enough. So there are little boxes that can connect to your TV, and they can send the TV signal to the hearing aids so it's a lot clearer, especially if you've got some family members who are saying, you're keeping the TV a little too loud. So there's a lot of different things there. Little microphones. So I've got this microphone right now, and that's broadcasting to the speaker system. There are hearing aid microphones that I can wear just like this. It's not going to broadcast to the speaker system, but it'll broadcast directly to your hearing aids. So that's another really nice thing to use, especially when there's just a lot of background noise in those restaurants with the really bad acoustics. Cochlear implants. Those are for people who have a lot of hearing loss that hearing aids really aren't going to help with. We're not going to talk about those too much today, but those exist for a reason, and they are also very technologically advanced to help you hear better if you're a candidate. So there's that. Thank you. So when it comes to hearing aids have evolved a lot just in the last 7 years. I was actually reading something about a month ago that said hearing aids have advanced more in the last 7 years than in the last 70 years. So the hearing aids that are available today are not the hearing aids that maybe your parents or your grandparents were dealing with. With newer hearing aids, there are really cool things that make life easier to use them, like they can be rechargeable, so you're not fiddling with those little button batteries, especially if you're noticing increased issues with dexterity in your hands or neuropathy. They're also able to connect via Bluetooth to smartphones, so I can see a lot of you guys in here have smartphones. The really nice thing with that feature is that if you get a phone call and you're having trouble hearing on the phone, it's going to send that phone call to the hearing aids. So not only is it going to be a lot clearer, but it's also taking your hearing loss into account to make sure that you're hearing that phone call as best you can. There's also a lot of other features that are more prevalent because of artificial intelligence. So when it comes to AI, there's been some form of AI in hearing aids for years now. Hearing aids have the ability to kind of tell that there's a lot of background noise going on. So maybe they need to switch settings or make some adjustments to help with that automatically. As AI gets more advanced, the hearing aids get a lot better at knowing what kind of situation you're in so that it can make those adjustments. So for instance, one such company has a lot of features where it can click a button and it can analyze the restaurant and it says, whoa, there's a lot of clattering going on. Maybe we need to cut down on that. There's some speech sounds coming from this area right here. Let's make that louder so that it can automatically make those adjustments. Other devices, they can tell, there's more background noise going on. Let's switch into setting number 2, the restaurant setting. Or it can tell that the acoustics aren't really too good. Maybe you're in church or even a room like this with the really high ceilings and all that echoing. And the hearing aids can say, okay, something's not right here, and it can switch into a program to help more in a situation like this. So there's a lot of things that hearing aids can do just automatically, or by clicking a button, or by clicking a button on the phone that helps you hear how you need to be hearing. So those are specifically when you're looking at hearing better. There's a lot of different advancements that are coming out every year for that. But some different brands also have additional features that maybe your kids might be really happy that they have, as, you know, maybe you might be losing independence, such as fall detection. So there's a brand where, you know, as long as you have that access to the smartphone, the hearing aids can tell if maybe you've fallen and you're not able to get up on your own, and it can send an alert to your kid, and that says, hey, we've noticed some detection here that someone may have fallen, you should go check on them. So there's a lot that can not only help you hear better, but keep you safe in those situations as maybe your balance might be degrading. Yeah. So when it comes to hearing aids, there's definitely a lot going on with that. The other thing to note is I know that hearing aids can be pricey. When it comes to hearing aids, it's not as simple as, here's a hearing aid, let's program it. There are different models of hearing aids, just like there are different models of phones. I know we talked about the iPhone earlier, how there are, like, I think 17 different generations of them now, but it's not just the iPhone 14, 15, 16, 17. You've got the iPhone 15, the iPhone 15 Pro, the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And so that's one generation of phone that has different features for those different options. Hearing aids are kind of similar, where you've got those three options. One is going to help a lot in background noise because it's the most advanced that there is. The less advanced the hearing aid is, the less smart the hearing aids can be in filtering out a lot of that background noise, or knowing, hey, it's time to switch into your restaurant settings or your church settings. So yes, hearing aids can be pricier, but I know in the last presentation when we were talking about laptops, it was a lot of you get what you pay for. With different hearing aid models, it can kind of be that way as well. The pricier ones are going to be able to do a lot more. They're going to be more personalizable to you, but they're also going to be able to adapt as your lifestyle changes. So one example I like to use, let's say that your kids want to start going to lunch with you on Sundays, and there's this restaurant that makes amazing pancakes, but it's really hard to understand what's going on in that situation. You've had your hearing aids for a couple of years now. They can be adjusted so that there's a setting that can help there. Or maybe your hearing loss gets worse. It happens. If your hearing loss gets worse, the hearing aids can be reprogrammed to reflect that change in your hearing. Just because your hearing loss has changed doesn't always mean you need to get new hearing aids. So there's a lot of safety nets in place to make sure that they're gonna last you a while. I know with cell phones, I know a lot of people, at least my age, like to get a new cell phone every couple of years. I know that might not be the case with you guys and your friends. I'm the same way. I don't want to get a new cell phone unless I have to. But when it comes to hearing aids, they're gonna last you a while. The average lifespan that I've been seeing is roughly 4 to 6 years, and that's when people are saying, I want the newest thing on the market. I do have people walking around in hearing aids that are 7, 8, even 9 years old. So yes, they are pricey, but they're supposed to last you a little while. Okay. Any questions that I can answer so far? Yes.
They have battery-powered hearing aids. How far away are they from having a battery that lasts 10 years? Just like smoke detectors. Because when you're old, then you get a phone call. I can't find my batteries. Well,
Yeah.
the hearing aids use them.
Yeah. Yeah, so when it comes to hearing aids, there are the ones that have the little button batteries that need changed out maybe once or twice a week. But the rechargeable batteries, you're not responsible for changing those. The rechargeable batteries that are in hearing aids right now are lasting on average roughly 3 to 5 years. However, if they need... No, so you do have to charge them every night, but you've got a charger, you just put them in the charger at night. They're gonna charge while you sleep. only takes roughly 2 to 3 hours right now to get a full charge, but they're gonna last you the whole day. So you shouldn't have to worry about the hearing aid dying during the day. In terms of needing to replace the physical battery though, that's something that's covered under manufacturer's warranties. Every hearing aid brand that I work with comes standard with a 3-year repair warranty and a 3-year loss and damage warranty. So if you've got the ones that go behind the ears and a wire breaks, I can replace that in office and that's covered under your warranty. If it comes to something where maybe some of the internal components need to be replaced or the rechargeable battery needs replaced, we would send that to the manufacturer and they would get that changed out and they wouldn't have a cost for you because it's under warranty. So with those warranties, sometimes they can be extended. So some companies will let you have a 5-year warranty. I always let you know before the warranty ends so that you have the opportunity to send it out and have it fixed up before your warranty ends to try and make sure it's going to give you a good lifespan. The other thing to note is that most offices that I know of, if your hearing aid does need to be sent out for repair, a lot of times there are going to be loaner devices that you can borrow in the meantime, so you're not just without the hearing aid once you've gotten used to having it. Yeah, that's a great question. Yes? Oh, yeah, sorry.
Does insurance cover hearing aids?
That is a really good question. So when it comes to insurance and hearing aids, from what I understand, most insurance companies, including Medicare, classify them as cosmetic. So there are some insurances that will have benefits that will help towards the cost of hearing aids. When it comes to Medicare, that's where it gets a little trickier. Oftentimes, when I see someone who has Medicare, there's usually not a true benefit attached to it. A benefit is something that needs to be filed with the insurance company. A lot of times when Medicare has a benefit, it's actually access to a third-party discount program where the insurance company contracts out to company A, and you're buying the hearing aid from company A, and then company A is contracting to an audiologist to be your point person. When it comes to those discount programs, there are some providers that aren't going to be a network. So for instance, I think someone in here said they had Aetna. It's not uncommon for an audiologist to be in network with Aetna, but not be a participating provider with the discount program. So those are some things to ask about as you're scheduling for hearing tests or hearing aid consultations, is determining, one, knowing what your insurance is. Do you have a benefit or do you have access to a discount program? And then asking, if it is a discount program, are you a participating provider or are you only in network for diagnostic testing? I know insurance can be really tricky on things like that. Yes?
Do you have anything to do with the Veterans Administration? I could go to the VA, get a hearing test, and get hearing aids.
Yeah.
Well, I paid for it with my life, but, there's no charge. Do you have any dealings with that? Is it all VA?
That is a great question. So when it comes to veterans, there is a program called VA Community Care. Our office at Wake Audiology is part of the VA Community Care Network. So you would come to us for the hearing test. Once you have a referral, you'd be able to come to us for hearing aid programming, but the VA is still the one who's paying for the testing and the hearing aids. So when you're a veteran and you qualify to get your hearing aids through the VA, I absolutely recommend doing that because the VA gives you the best hearing aids that there are. The other thing to know with hearing aids is that they're going to work as well as they're programmed. So there's different ways to program hearing aids. When I program hearing aids, I'm really picky. I know you guys are spending a lot on it, or you've already, like you said, paid by serving. We want to make sure that they're working as well as they can be. So I use what's called real ear measures. I place a little microphone in the ear with the hearing aid. We listen to some sentences in office, and we'll be able to see exactly on the screen what the hearing aids are doing. So I can see, are they actually functioning to your prescription? Are they not functioning and we need to make some adjustments? If we do need to make adjustments, where are those adjustments needed? A lot of times when I run that, the hearing aids end up actually being too loud and I have to turn them down. So it's a nice way to verify that they're doing what they need to do for you. Some providers will run a hearing test with the hearing aids in and see how they're functioning that way. Some providers will say, well, the company says that it should be set here. How does it sound? Do you like it? Let's make it so that you like it. Oftentimes, you're not going to like hearing aids the first day, but we know that you kind of got to push through within the first week to get them working better for you. Research shows it takes the brain about 4 to 6 weeks to fully get used to wearing hearing aids. And the reason why is that when you've had hearing loss, there's a lot of sounds that your brain has forgotten what they sound like. When you get hearing aids, you're given all of that sound back. The brain has to take some time to relearn what's important, what do I need to pay attention to, and what's okay to start tuning out. So for instance, if I'm walking on the floor, you can hear the clicking of my shoes. With someone who has hearing aids, they're gonna say, my shoes are so loud that it needs to be turned down. Your brain just needs to realize that the clicking sounds are there. It doesn't mean the floor is gonna fall out from under you. It's gonna know that, yes, there's a buzzing coming from the refrigerator. It does not mean that the refrigerator is gonna blow up. It's working just fine. So there's a lot of different things that the brain itself needs to get used to. But the more advanced the hearing aids are, the easier it is for your brain to acclimate to all of those new sounds, because the hearing aids are actively working to help you hear better.
Can you speak just a little bit to the correlation of dementia and hearing loss?
Yes, absolutely. So when it comes to cognitive decline, we know that there are a lot of things that we can't change about it. I can't change your age. I can't change your genetics. I can't change a lot of those factors that are just ingrained in our DNA. That makes up about 85% of risk factors, or things that we can't change. However, 15% of risk factors can be changed, and about 7% of that is treating your hearing loss. Treating your hearing loss is the #1 modifiable risk factor for cognitive decline. So when it comes to not hearing very well, let's say that we're having a conversation, and I said, oh, I saw a Tuttle over by the cake. And you're like, what is a Tuttle? What does a cake have to do with any of this? And if we're in a group setting, you might not ask me to repeat myself, or maybe you've been asking me to repeat myself a lot, and you're kind of embarrassed, and you're just kind of over it. So you're like, I'll figure it out as she talks. Well, your brain is sitting there in the back of your mind saying, I gotta figure out what this Tuttle is. What's this cake? Is it someone's birthday? As we're talking, you're hearing me say, oh yeah, I went walking over in the park, and there were all these ducks, and the water was great, and you're figuring out, oh, she said lake, not cake, but I still don't know what a Tuttle is. And I'm telling you how there were so many of them, and you could see their shells glimmering in the sun, and you're like, oh, it was a turtle by the lake. And so as I'm talking, you're trying to keep up with what I'm saying, while also trying to backtrack and figure out what you missed. That's a lot of brain power versus just hearing me say the first time, yeah, I saw a turtle over by the lake. So over time, that kind of builds up, and by the end of the day, you're exhausted. Or maybe you didn't catch on that I said there was a turtle by the lake, and you're hearing me say that I was walking in the croc. I don't know. You're not hearing me well, so you can't follow the sentence, and you might just start to zone out. You might not really be fully paying attention to what I'm saying, and if you're not getting that signal right the first time, you're not going to remember exactly what I was saying. So you can't remember that I said, I saw a turtle by the lake, if you thought I said, I saw a Tuttle by the cake. The brain spends a lot of time trying to play catch up when it's missing out on anything from one of the 5 sentences. Or the 5 senses. So with that, treating your hearing loss is going to not only help you follow these conversations better and help you hear things the first time, but treating your hearing loss can also affect other aspects of your health. Back in spring of last year, I actually presented at a national conference, and I had to do a lot of research on insurance and things like that. But in doing my research, I came across some statistics that were showing me that people who have untreated hearing loss are more likely to have other health issues. People who have untreated hearing loss are more likely to need more doctor's visits. People who have untreated hearing loss are more likely to have balance problems. And a lot of it comes down to you're not hearing as well what's going on around you, so you might need to go back to the doctor because you didn't understand the treatment options the first time. Or it's possible that your balance is off because you're not as well aware of your surroundings. Or it could just be your brain is really tired and it's trying to focus on having you communicate better, and other things are starting to go to the wayside. So my big thing, before we even look at what hearing aid is best for you, get a baseline hearing test if you haven't had one. I recommend people have a hearing test by the time they're 55. The best time to get a hearing test is before you know that you're having difficulties, because if something happens, maybe you get sick and your hearing gets worse really fast, or maybe you're in an accident and that affects your hearing, or maybe you had some treatments that affected your hearing. We don't know where you started from if you waited until after the problem started to get tested. Whenever you go to your primary care doctor, they take your blood pressure, even if you don't have a history of high blood pressure, because that's something they kind of want to track and see, what's your specific baseline. It's good to get that baseline hearing test so that if anything changes, we can track that. There are over 200 medications out there that can affect your hearing. The big ones that I always ask about are chemotherapy and radiation. Those are things that can affect your hearing as you're being treated, but those are also medications that can affect your hearing even decades down the line. So I always recommend getting that baseline because you never know when something's going to happen and maybe you need a medication that might end up changing your hearing long term.
Does Medicare pay for a yearly checkup?
That is a great question. Medicare will cover a hearing test if it is deemed medically necessary. So oftentimes with Medicare, you need an order from your doctor, but then in my experience, they do typically cover that. Yes.
What criteria do you look at to determine that the Veteran Administration issued hearing aids are better than the commercial issue?
Yeah, so when it comes to what the VA issues, the VA issues hearing aids that I also work with. So when I say they're issuing better hearing aids or the top of the line hearing aids, that goes back to there are multiple models of hearing aids within a generation. So like there's the iPhone 15, 16, 17, or there's the 15 Pro, the 15 Pro Max, the 15 SE. Hearing aids will have a similar type of thing where there are more entry-level hearing aids, and those are just to help you hear sound better overall. The more advanced they get, the better they can cut back on background noise and make automatic adjustments. The Veterans Administration issues the hearing aids that can cut back on that background noise the best and focus on the people who are talking to you. So a lot of them, I work with all 7 major manufacturers. That means that, if it's on contract with the VA, I'm able to work with it.
What are the ranges in price?
Yeah, so it's going to depend between different offices. In our office, hearing aids can range anywhere from $2,250 to $7,250. The difference in cost is going to depend on, are you getting a more entry-level hearing aid? Are you getting something that's mid-level? Or are you getting that top-of-the-line hearing aid? When you get a hearing test and a hearing aid consultation, that's where you have the opportunity to not only see how well are you hearing or not hearing, but what do you need the hearing aid to be doing? If you're someone who never goes out to restaurants, you pretty much just sit at home, you like to watch TV or visit with your family at home, you might not need that top-of-the-line hearing aid because there's a lot of features for background noise that you're not really ever going to be using. Or if you're someone who goes out a lot, maybe you're very involved in your church, you're involved in a book club, a sewing club, baking club, or you watch your grandkids. You're going to need something that can keep up with all of those different places that you're in and all of those different voices you're going to be hearing. And that's where those more top-of-the-line hearing aids come in. But the Veterans Administration, in my experience, does always issue those top-of-the-line hearing aids. And that's, from what I understand, at no cost to the veterans, so long as you're service connected.
So he can just call and ask for a referral to your office?
Yeah, so Rachel, you know a little bit more about the VA community care app than I do, I think. But with that, I believe that they would just call the VA and ask for a referral via community care, correct?
You're interested in the community care program, this is the provider that you'd like to see, could you please send a referral over to them?
Yeah, once we get that referral, we would contact you to set up an appointment.
Yeah, so as soon as I go for the hearing test, and you say, well, you're having a hard time hearing high-pitched voice, why would I need a hearing aid for that if I don't work? I'm in everyday,
Yeah.
everyday living, talking to people, going to a movie or whatever.
That is a great question. When it comes to people talking, different sounds occur at different pitches. So a lot of the quieter consonant sounds, F, S, TH, those are going to be quieter and those are affected in those high pitches. So if you have a lot of difficulty with those high pitches, that's going to be the difference between someone saying the word fish versus the word kiss versus the word this. You might find that you're reading lips a lot more, you are asking for more repetition, or again, you're kind of trying to guide your way through the conversation yourself. That's putting a lot of extra strain on the brain because, again, you're not hearing the conversation as well. Oftentimes when people have high-pitched hearing loss, they tell me, I can tell people are talking to me, I just can't understand what they're saying. And that's because that clarity of the sound is going to be affected, and the hearing aids are trying to give you that clarity back without making everything overwhelmingly loud.
Well, what is the range of your ears hearing thing?
Yeah, so
100,000 or?
that's a great question. So the human ears can hear anywhere from 20 hertz, which is very, very deep, all the way up to 20,000 hertz, which is like a mosquito sound. Speech specifically occurs from 250 hertz to 8,000 hertz. So that's what we typically test, unless you're medically indicated to be tested at higher pitches there. A lot of the time, age-related hearing loss is going to affect those higher pitches. Or if you've been around loud noises, either in the military or yard work, being a musician, you might see that you have a dip in hearing around the middle pitches, that comes right back up. Genetic hearing loss, that's one that might affect those lower pitches or those middle pitches, but the higher pitches are okay. With genetic hearing loss, there are a lot of people walking around with hearing loss that don't recognize it because they've had hearing loss since they were so little, it's what they know. So, I mean, even if you don't feel like you're having difficulty, getting that hearing test is going to help us know where is the difficulty, if there is any, where is that hearing loss occurring, and what do we need to do to get you hearing back at an easier level for you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be rude, but I have a friend in the pottery studio, and every time I speak to her, so she's not paying attention to me. She doesn't answer me, she'll just walk away. And I mentioned it to another friend, and she notices it too. How do you nicely say to somebody, I think you have a problem?
Yeah.
Is that okay to do? I mean, I don't remember anybody's feelings, but.
Yeah, that could definitely be a tricky
But it's
one.
affected her, I can tell.
Yeah, that is a really good point. It's definitely hard having those conversations with loved ones. I would say, as she's walking away, you can just ask, hey, I wasn't done talking. Did you hear me? Did you catch that? Or I asked you this, but I don't think I got your answer on it. You can talk about what we talked about today, how, it's recommended you get a hearing test, or you can even mention, yeah, I'm getting my hearing tested. Do you want to come with me? Like we can try and do our appointments together. Things like that. I know it's definitely hard because there's a lot of stigma around the topic that there really shouldn't be.
So if you need glasses, you need glasses. If you need hearing aids, you need hearing aids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why walk around with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I'm curious, you indicated like the brain adapts to the hearing aid. Does your brain adapt to your hearing loss just naturally?
Yeah, so that's a really good question as well. So the brain does kind of adapt to hearing loss, but not in a good way. the brain gets used to not hearing a lot of the sounds around you. So that comes back to maybe you're not hearing your microwave beeping, or maybe you're not hearing your alarm clock on your phone, or maybe you've gotten very used to reading people's lips in conversations. It's not uncommon for me to see people staring at my lips and mouthing the words along with me because they're not understanding and the brain is trying to figure it out. So it does find ways to adapt, but it's not always in a very healthy way.
Okay, so let's have Sue come up and if you have any other questions, we'll finish those up at the very end, just to make sure Sue has a chance to come and speak. Thank you, Karina. So Sue, you're gonna swap, she's gonna, well, I'll just make sure. The microphone here.
Hands and what I'm gonna talk about here. But we're also gonna do.
Sue ran into traffic on the way here, so she missed the introduction, but she's here for the important part.
Do a little show and tell.
Oh, okay.
Every school day,
I'm gonna have
took
to
song class.
put this microphone here. Can I flip this on here? Maybe right here at the end. Okay.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Sue Johnson. I'm a business development manager for a company called Clear Captions. And thank for Karina for her role.
I am sorry, that did not.
That's all right. Here we go. We can
Here,
skip
order.
the rest of it because our audiologist so gracefully talked about an awful lot of it. So I'm going to just cut right to the chase here. When you have hearing loss, it is very socially isolating. Not only does it lead to cognitive decline, but you find that you can't perform functions of daily life. Talking on the phone becomes a real issue. I'm a retired administrator of senior living. As the executive director, I ran buildings for over 20 years. I was running one in Michigan. I recently moved here from Ohio. I was running a building for Trinity Health in Michigan, and my mother was in a long-term care east of Cleveland, Ohio. It was during COVID, and you couldn't get in and visit anybody. And I'd try and talk to Mom on the phone, and it was futile. She'd go, "What? I can't hear you." And I tried every trick in the book, lowering my voice, making my voice go higher, talking slower, whatever I could do to get her to hear me, and it was of no use. If I'd known about this phone at that time, she would have had one in a minute. This is one of the reasons when I retired from administration, I started looking into caption phones. I learned about it. Mom had passed away, and I started doing a little research and I found Clear Captions. Has anybody seen the commercial on TV where the grandpa's talking to his grandson about baseball? And okay, that's us. And the hardest part of my job is that people say, "Oh my gosh, that's a scam. It's too good to be true." Because a commercial says there's no charge to you. Well, that's exactly right, there is not. Our goal is to keep you connected, especially during the holidays. The holidays are coming. Many of us have family that's out of state. The only way to stay connected is via a phone call. It's also the way you stay connected to your audiologist, your doctors, your friends, your family, whoever. Clear Captions is a government-funded program. And people say, why is there no charge? Well, there's a little secret. On your phone bill, whether you have a landline phone bill or whether you have a cell, down where the taxes are listed, there's an extra charge on there that says universal service fee. That fee has been on your bill since 1992. It's a long time, 32 years. You've been paying that every month. It's not much. My last one on my Verizon bill was 46 cents. That fee was put on there by George Bush under Title IV of the American Disabilities Act that says anyone who struggles to hear on the phone has the same right to a quality phone conversation as someone who does not have any hearing loss. So that pays for this phone. You've actually all been paying for this for a number of years. It pays for this phone for anyone who needs it when the time comes, regardless of age or income. The youngest one I put in was for a 12-year-old in Detroit, Michigan. Her mother was a veteran. I'm a veteran myself, so thank you for your service, all the veterans here. I ran into her later at a veterans event, and she said, Sue, Kira loves her phone. I can't get her off it. She was 12, wore hearing aids when she was 3. But she could not talk to her girlfriends on the phone because she couldn't hear them well enough. The oldest I put in was 101, and she's down in Hilton Head. So, and everything in between. But that fee pays here for this phone for anyone who needs it. Now, do you need a phone line? No, you don't. That's one thing that stands clear captions apart. With us, you do not need to have a home phone line. If you have a home phone line, we will connect to it, and we just give you another extension, and I'm going to tell you about the phone features in just a minute. We're going to give you another extension for this phone, and if you can't hear on the phone, a lot of people have a base phone and a bunch of cordless, wireless ones around the house. You can pick up another phone, and if you're struggling to hear them, say, hold on a minute, walk over to this one, take it off the hook, or put it on speaker, you have hands-free, and then hang up the other one and continue your conversation. If you do not have a landline, we're going to give you one. I'm going to give you a local and long-distance line at no charge. And you will be able to make calls anywhere in the United States and its territories. So what does the phone do? The phone prints out on this screen as you talk to somebody. It prints out what they say. They're part of the conversation. So you can not only hear it, and Katrina talked about different tones. They have put in different tones now for the ringer. There's a low, medium, and a high tone, so that if you hear better at one tone than another, you'll be able to hear your ringer much, much easier. But it'll print out the words your callers say while you're talking to them, and you will be able to hear and be able to read it. If you're 100%, if you're profoundly hearing impaired, I've had a client also in Michigan. She's 52 years old. She lost her hearing when she was 14. She'd been in a fire, and it destroyed the nerve endings in her ears, and she couldn't hear at all. But she had years of speech therapy, and the one thing that she mentioned is that you can't tell if somebody has hearing loss. You really can't. I would have never known unless she told me, because she talked as well as anybody else. But she could read lips better than anyone I ever met. But she had not been able to talk on the phone in, let's see, what is that, 38 years, because she couldn't hear. Well, we gave her the phone, it printed out the conversation, so she could respond normally, like she was having a regular phone conversation. Well, I put the phone in for her, she started crying, and she says, Sue, I can now call my aunt. I haven't talked to her since I was 14. So this makes a huge difference, but it prints out the conversation. It has different volumes, so if you have hearing, but it's limited. How many people, does everybody here have a cell phone? One of the clues I find with my clients is that when they're telling me the only way I can hear on my cell phone is to put the phone out here and put it on speaker. Cell phones do not go loud enough anymore. And actually you don't want them real loud because you're going into much higher decibels. That can hurt too. But I have a lot of people that have tinnitus ringing in their ears. I have clients who are from profoundly hearing impaired to they've lost hearing on one side. Their hearing is diminished and the words aren't clear enough. And if you find yourself, I have a lot of clients that say, oh, my kids are saying, Mom, I told you that already. Or their mother will keep saying, I can't hear you. Can you say that again? When you're asking people to repeat. Or you find you're turning up the TV volume louder. All those are little signs that you can struggle. I had a client recently who said, well, my hearing is not good. But I think I'm okay, but I think I need to try the phone. Well, we put the phone in, she kept pushing up the volume, pushing up the volume, pushing up the volume. And she realized, oh my gosh, I really do have more of a hearing problem than I thought, which is a good reason to go get your hearing tested because of that. But at any rate, this phone is very easy to use. It just plugs in. We give you a phone line. All it does is plug in electrically. If I connect you to their Wi-Fi here, plug it in the wall, the phone would actually work as a working phone. If we give you that line, you can move it around, put it anywhere in your house. It has all the features of a cell phone. It has contacts, it has favorites. And the one nice thing, it has a call log. And every time you talk to someone on the phone, after you hang up, it will, and there's a picture, I think you can see the words on the card I handed you. There's a picture there that shows how it prints out. But anytime you talk to anybody on the phone, after you hang up, that conversation is there in the call log. They're part of the conversation. So it's really nice. Let's say your audiologist office calls, gives you an appointment time. You hang up the phone and go, oh darn, what day am I supposed to be there? Go in the call log because it's all going to be there. You're going to be able to go back and refer to what that conversation was. It's there as a handy connection for you. It's extremely simple to use. It's a great feature. It'll keep you connected to family and friends and for business purposes, whatever you need. But the best part is it's your right to have this phone because you don't, you've been paying for it for so many years. I don't need a doctor's order. Used to be, we had to get certification from the audiologist. They stopped that within, I think about the last year or so. I've been with them, I'm going in my third year. I retired as an administrator 3 years ago and I joined Clear Captains almost right afterwards. And the first year I had to get certifications from the audiologist. Now they stopped that. It does not come out of your insurance, nothing. You'll never see a bill. The only way you'll know you have this phone is it's sitting on a table somewhere in your house or in your, wherever you put it. And as I mentioned, it does not affect any other phone lines you have. You have a regular phone line, we're not changing your number. If we give you a phone line, you're going to have your own number. You're going to have support from us for life. The one thing that sets Clear Captions apart is one, I not only do the guest presentations in the area, but you're going to deal just with me. I'm going to be the one putting in your phone and teaching you how to use it. I also work with audiology groups a lot, and I get referrals from them. And so I can always get back to your audiologist and say, you know, here's how they're doing, and if you have any concerns that they need to know about, I'm happy to relay those for you. But that's really it. That's really it in a nutshell.
Okay, and there's Sue's information if you want to jot it down, or if you know anybody who needs the service.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a question back there.
Yes.
I have two questions. You said that there's a call log, so that remains on your phone?
No, you can delete it. It's there after the call. It'll give you a whole list of any calls you have coming in, but you may delete it. You can delete it at any time. It doesn't hold.
If you did not delete it, it is retained.
It stays up to 1,000 calls. It'll hold 1,000 calls in your phone. It holds a lot. The other thing I want you to know, one of the things that's different, there's a couple other providers, but the one thing that's different about Clear Captions is that we do not have a live captioner. We do not have someone that's listening in on your phone calls, typing away to get the words on the screen. Ours is all done by digital voice technology, so it's like as if you voice texted to your cell phone. So you have to be prepared for some misspelled words now and then, and a wonky word now and then, because that's what the computer hears, that's all. Yes?
And then my second question, can you print what has been?
No, unfortunately not. We're always doing upgrades. You never know, who knows, that could come at some point. But as of now, no. But you will see it in pretty good size print. You can adjust the size of the print, by the way, if you have sight problems. I have a lot of people with macular degeneration, for example. I can make the words a lot bigger on the screen. There's different levels of that. You have total control of adjusting the volume. If you have the one that we give you the phone line for, you actually will get FEMA alerts on this phone for weather-related emergency services. We always register your phone for 911 services as well. Yes?
Is that an answering machine?
Yes, it does. It has a built-in voicemail. And if you have your own phone line, you have your choice of using your phone line or ours. You can record a message in that case if you have your own phone line. And set that up, and yes. And it will print your message out, so you'll be able to see it and hear it. Yes?
You have to physically come to the home to set up a line?
I'm going to come, and it takes me about 45 minutes. About 45 minutes to get your phone in and get you trained on how to use it.
Are you disqualified if you have hearing aids?
No. I have so many people with hearing aids and cochlear implants and all sorts of things. No, you're not disqualified at all. No. The qualifications are, there's only two. One, you must have an internet connection. And two, you must have some hearing loss in which the captioning on the phone will be helpful and necessary. And that's just about everybody who's got any kind of hearing loss, so everybody's pretty much covered on that. Anybody else? Yes?
So it is a separate phone line or number, so like you couldn't keep your cell phone.
Oh, of course you're gonna keep your cell phone. Oh, we're not taking away your cell phone. Oh, absolutely
But
not.
I mean, they would.
Oh, no, we'll not work
That's
together.
gonna be a separate number.
That's right. If you're gonna have your own number for life, the other thing you're gonna have is you have lifetime support from us, which I really like. As long as this is your phone. I don't want it back, particularly. This is your phone. You take it wherever you go. If we give you the line, the nice thing about this phone is, let's say you travel and you decide you're going to Florida for a month. Take the phone with you, pack it up in your suitcase, take it down there. It's going to recognize a change of address. It's going to say, do you want to update your address? And we do that because of 911 services. It'll ask you about that. And then if you connect it to the internet down there, and that same phone number is going to work.
So it only has to be an internet connection, and then there's no old-fashioned phone line that goes.
Not on our line. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So you don't have to connect to the wall.
Nothing.
It just has to Wi-Fi connect.
Right, your Wi-Fi connects and it plugs in electrically if we give you the line. If you have your own line, well then that depends on how your line is hooked up. I see some, and you don't see it much anymore, but every now and then I see somebody that has a wall jack, that their house is wired and has been wired for 50 years and they've got the same number. We're not going to change that, we're just going to connect the phone.
I had that for 50 years.
Yeah, I've got a lot of people that have, and I have a lot of people who ask me, okay, I have a home phone number. What if I want to get this one and I want to get rid of my number? Well, that's up to you. You can do that. And we will give you a number with no charge, but we cannot port numbers over. So a lot of people don't want to do that because they've had the same phone number forever and they don't want to lose that number, but they want to get rid of their line, which is cost savings, but if you get only one phone, that's another drawback on it. And, we can't move your number, you'd end up with a new phone number. Yeah. So I'm here, if anybody's interested, I'll be happy to talk with you.
Other questions for Sue?
Okay.
Okay, do you have any questions for Dr. Katrina? We got all of those in there we go.
I can recommend. If I call the VA, I can say I want to go to
Yeah, you can say that you want to come see us. We do have our flyers with our information up there, but I also brought business cards if anyone wants a card. Just that has both of our office numbers and an email. And then if anyone wanted more information about different hearing aid information, I did bring a couple of brochures that will be helpful once you get to the point that you're looking at treating for hearing loss.
Okay, thank you very much. I've got just a couple of announcements. So if you need general technical assistance, technology assistance, there's actually a lady who comes into the senior center here. Her name's Letitia Adams, and she's here Monday and Wednesday from 9 to 1. She is a Wake Tech student. You'll see her around here sometimes, and you can schedule an appointment with her. The phone number is down at the bottom of the screen. So if you want to bring in your phone and have help with that, or your computer, you can do that with Letitia. Pretty cool. Okay, and that's free. And then something that I'm introducing, which will start next year. So just go back.
Go back. Could you go back?
I did. I'm sorry. There we go. I thought I clicked it. 919-554-4111, or stop by the front desk here at the senior center. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, that's the number here at the senior center.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody got it?
So she's here from 9 to 1. This might sound funny, but can I go over to the phone and say, this doesn't work, tell me what to do?
I have not talked to her personally to know. I just know that this was actually in your senior center newsletter, and Jenny, the senior center director, had mentioned it to me. So I'm not sure all of the things she can help with, but it's my understanding you can bring in a device and she can walk you through that. Okay. But just at those days and times, Monday, Wednesday, 9 to 1.
Right.
And you make an appointment with her. Okay, everybody have what they need there? Okay, so the downside to the club is something new I'm introducing. It will be separate from the seminars, and it will be meetings held here once a month at the senior center. We're still hammering out all the details, but this will begin in January of 2025. And what this is about is the stuff in your house. So if that is something that is an encumbrance to you or a concern, often I meet with clients who say, I'm not ready to move yet, and I really don't know when I can because of the stuff. And it's 40 years worth of belongings that have cluttered up the house or stacked up in the attic or all over the house. And so this will be, it's a paid club, so it's $49, that's the intro price, regular $79, and that's a lifetime availability. So you can come to the club for the rest of your life if you still are struggling getting rid of the stuff. And if you ever do sell your house, I will deduct that price from the services, whatever you sell, and use my real estate services. So we'll have not only meetings with the group, but we'll also have local trusted experts. So you get to take a deeper dive than we have during the seminars into, for instance, estate sales, or what is this worth, or how do I get rid of things that are toxic, or, so all of those kinds of things. We're going to cover those through the duration. So we'll have you'll get a notebook with all kinds of guidelines, and I'll continue to talk about this going forward, but just know that that's coming. We'll have a sign up for it. I literally just put this together yesterday, so I just got back from a conference, and this was the brainchild from that. Yeah.
If you need a ride, Wake Forest now offers free rides with a free ride service.
Okay.
I'm not sure who you call or where, maybe somebody knows, but it's like it's a free cab. You just call them.
So do you know what you're calling?
So it's an app, it's called Go Wake Forest.
Go Wake Forest. Oh, thanks, Richard. Okay. All right. All kinds of fun stuff. I'm sorry.
For the people that live in the city, Wake Forest, not Wake County.
Okay. So you have to be in city limits. Not Wake Forest zip code, but city limits.
In the city limits.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Okay, and then if you've missed any of the previous seminars, or you want to give a friend who needed to hear what you heard today and they weren't able to attend, you can click this QR code, go straight to my website, southernaccenhomes.com. All of the seminars are recorded and replayed back on the website. If you click on the upper menu, it'll say The Real Truth About Seminar Series. When you click that, then you'll see the library of seminars. And the next one coming up, I've heard is super popular, so that speaks to the stuff, and that's Decluttering 101. Speaker will be Richard, I just lost his name. Richard Miller, sorry, with Smooth Transitions, I can't believe I lost his name. And that's Wednesday, November 13th from 10 to 11:30 back here at the Senior Center. Did I see a hand, or you just? No, okay. Where you're sitting, there is a feedback form, so you can fill that out. I'm going to borrow your phone. If you can fill that out and just let me know if there's any subjects. I'm going to start planning next year's seminars. So if there's any subjects you have a burning desire to hear about, let me know that. If you'd like to sign up for the monthly seminar, the monthly newsletter, I mail these out snail mail each month, and I'd be happy to include you on the mailing list if you'd like to be included. Just enter your information down here. I do not sell it off, and I don't call you if you don't want me to call you. Okay, just to know. So we're good. Any last thoughts?
You were going to do like something on your website about seeing nursing home facilities.
So it's not there yet. So it's a friend is working on cropping and captioning, and her father died, and she was out of town for a while. So we also had some technical issues with that, but it is in the works as we speak, and so that series will come really soon. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Thanks so much to Katrina and Sue and Phil who had to leave. Really appreciate it.